Alright, I'm taking the time to do this video so I can give a brief overview of changing exhaust manifolds versus installing headers on the VG33E motor, which is the truck motor that came in the Pathfinders, Xterras, Frontiers in the late 90s, early 2000s. Similar design and setup to the VG30E and ETs that came in the 300ZXs in other cars, Maxims I think and whatnot. So first thing you got to do is get these connector bolts. I bought some aftermarket cheapo headers from China, which was a mistake on my part. I think they fit better than what I expected, but I guess after when it's all said and done, I like the quietness of the OEM manifolds. So I'm looking to get out this Xterra. I'm looking to hopefully get into something a little newer, hopefully a Frontier. And so I think most people would rather stock manifolds in comparison to the headers. Most people, that is the general public, that aren't Nissan off-roading enthusiasts like myself. So the collector's got 3 bolts. As you can see here, I'm running the earlier first gen Xterra / Frontier downpipes to bypass the set of cats. But you can see the 3 collector bolts there. I use just regular Lowe's stuff, grade 8. I've got a 5/8 nut, a 5/8 bolt and a 14mm nut. So get in there with a wrench. I'm using a flex head wrench, and I'm using a offset 14mm. These are pretty much what I use for most of the exhaust manifold project. And what I'm going through, I removed the flap that covers the body space to the frame, took the wheel off. You can see that old nasty shock. And what I'm getting in there and doing is I am taking the bolts off. They're all 14mm. I replaced the manifolds, the studs on it. I decided to go with new studs. I'll give part numbers if somebody contacts me, if they're interested. And you can reach them from the top, and you can reach them from the bottom. So you'll have to go through and see. Basically, it's easy to figure out which ones you can reach from the top and the bottom. So after you get the bolts loose, the collector bolts loose, the last thing to do over here is the new O2 sensor. I changed that out when I did the headers before, but you've got to disconnect it to give yourself space to move the headers out. Okay. And lastly, later on today, or maybe in another video, I'll go through the procedure of changing out the front shock while you're down here, which is a 7mm bolt. Hit it with an impact or arm strength, and you got this, hold on, 14mm 2 nuts to hold the shock in place with the hardware. I'll be upgrading to this KYB, or maybe not upgrade, but just swapping some new stuff to get rid of this old stuff. So pretty old truck. Again, want to make a note that these test pipes or down pipes are removing the cat is illegal and should be only used in off-road application. So use at your own risk, and if you plan on doing off-roading. So changing them out might cause you to not be able to pass inspection or emissions or whatever your state regulations are. For me, this is an off-road use vehicle, so like I said, when I go to sell the car, I will have to put it all back to what the factory calls for, or make the new owner aware that that's something they're going to have to do. All right, if any questions, reach out to me.